But there's been so many new users on Football Index within the past couple of months. I thought I'd do a quick video on the tips, tricks that I wish I knew in my first 2 months trading. Players usually rise in the build up to games. So the best time to buy them is usually Monday, because Sunday, usually with 1 or 2 games exception, the last big game day for the weekend. So Monday, I would say, is the best time to buy players, and Friday, which is the day before the big weekend of games, is the best time to sell. Buying for that day rarely wins. And what do I mean by that? So if you're interested in a player because they're playing in that game that day, you might be interested in them for goal and assist in-play dividends, or you might be interested in performance buzz or media buzz. Buying the player on that day is really hit or miss whether it's going to work out for you. The best way to do it is to look within a few days' time and build your strategy on the players you want to buy for then. So if something does happen that you believe will happen, you're in quite a good position because you got in early. Buying for that day rarely wins. And what do I mean by that? So if you're interested in a player because they're playing in that game that day, you might be interested in them for goal and assist in-play dividends, or you might be interested in performance buzz or media buzz. Buying the player on that day is really hit or miss whether it's going to work out for you. The best way to do it is to look within a few days' time and build your strategy on the players you want to buy for then. So if something does happen that you believe will happen, you're in quite a good position because you got in early. Injured players can be a good investment because usually what happens, you get a predictable rise towards their return to fitness. One thing I will say though, if a player does get injured, don't buy straight away because there will be a small drop or a large drop even if they're out for a long time. Wait for the price to settle down, reach its bottom, and then it's a good long-term to mid-term investment for when they return to fitness. The sub £1 market is a very tough part of the market to trade. Prices will fly up and down on quite easily. So beware of tips as usual, and really do your research if you're going to shop in the bottom of the basement, because prices will shoot up and they'll shoot down, and if you're on the wrong end of that, it could be an expensive lesson. So if you're trading below the £1 mark, make sure you do your research and don't just take the word of some tips you see on Twitter or on another social media. If you are going to try short-term trading, you always need to consider the 2% commission that you have to pay to Football Index no matter what, and the instant sell spread. Now, if you plan your trade well enough and you can sell to market, you don't need to worry about that. But obviously, trading on Football Index is very random. So we need to always take into account the spread, because if you have to instant sell and there's a high spread, that could potentially eat into your profits or even put you in a loss position when you wouldn't be otherwise. Okay, so always take the 2% commission and the spread into account, especially if you're trading short term. But if you're going to trade for media buzz, we can look at some possible edges that you could get in the market. English players, obviously. Your average English player will get spoken about more than your average foreign player, and your superstar English player will get spoken about more than your superstar foreign player. I know that's not true when you're talking about the Messis and the Neymars and the Ronaldos, but I think on average, I think the English player is more popular. Players with one name. Now, I'm not on board with this as some traders are, but there is some evidence to it that players, they've got one name, usually looking at the South American players or the Spanish players, they have one name, they get spoken about a lot more in the media because their name is conveniently thrown about because of one word. I think that's one of the reasons I read. I'm not totally on board with that, but there is some evidence, particularly with superstars like Neymar, etc. And also Manchester United players. Manchester United players do get a lot of media attention. Manchester United, the biggest club in England, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and their players on average do get a lot of more media attention. So there's 3 edges there that you can take into the market when you're looking at players for media buzz. Now, if you're going to look for performance buzz type players, so you're going to trade possibly with performance buzz, there is a few other things that could give you an edge. And obviously, goals are very important. You could get, I hear a lot of talk about baseline scores, average scores, but you could get a player with a rubbish average score, but if they score goals, you know, and they're quite capable of scoring a brace or a hat trick, then they've got a higher chance of picking up a few performance buzz wins. You know, so goals is always one that I look for when I trade for performance buzz players. Other attributes that are very, very good are passes. You know, players will rack up high scores for days if they can do little 5-yard passes here and there, never lose possession. You know, and they might not be, if you're watching the game, you might not even notice them. But if there's someone who gets the ball, gives the ball, gets the ball, gives the ball, they're going to get a high score. And crosses as well. Crosses, for me, I've noticed lately, are very important. So if you get a player who put a lot of crosses in, not only have they put it into a dangerous area, so they've got a chance for an assist and you've got dividends there, but crosses do seem to bring a lot of performance buzz points. So yeah, another one as well, if the player plays for a team that mostly wins, obviously that's always a bonus because you get more points for the winning team. So there's 4 edges there if you're going to trade the market for performance buzz. But the transfer market, I've done a few videos, separate videos on the transfer market, so you can go back and watch them for a bit more in depth. But I think I would say that if I was to give one good bit of advice, is if you are going to go and trade into the transfer market, it's very volatile. So what I would suggest is that you have at least 2 outcomes where you will be okay price-wise. You know, if you're simply buying a player because they might move to a big team. So, for example, if they play in the Portuguese league or the Russian league, which is not eligible for any dividends unless they play in Europe, then you're really banking on them moving to that team. And if they don't, you know, if things change, their price is going to tank. So what I would say is always kind of have a backup plan. So if you're going to buy a player that scores loads of goals wherever they're going to play, then that is a decent outcome for you, and you probably won't lose as much money. So, for example, if a player plays for, you know, Dortmund and they score a lot of goals, they move into Chelsea, Pulisic, for example, off the back of that transfer, you will get a lot of media and the price will rise. But if he stays at Dortmund, he scores goals anyway, so there's still potential for dividends there, which won't kill your price as much as the first example I give. So if you are going to trade the transfer market, which is a sharp hit, like I said about the sub £1 players, you know, but it's worse, you know. But like I said, I have got a lot of transfer videos past, and most of the examples I give still apply now. Okay, so if you want to go and check them out, you can. But yeah, if you're trading the transfer market, make sure you have at least 2 outcomes where your price will not tank and lose you a load of money.